What's good, YouTube? It's Nas and we back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about Anthony Edwards, and I'm going to see what does next season actually look like for Ant, because hindsight to my knowledge, I don't think some people regard Ant into being being in the conversations of Luka, Jokic, obviously Shea, and Giannis, I guess, in which I do think Ant is potentially one of those top 5, top 6 best NBA players in the world right now. And in my opinion, Anthony Edwards is the best shooting guard in the NBA. But I want to know, how do y'all feel about Ant? Because I realize a lot of people, or some people, think Anthony Edwards is a bit overrated. And I don't really understand that opinion, but I can see it a little bit. But when we're looking at Anthony Edwards' game, right, you have to be high or wary to the fact that Anthony Edwards hasn't played with a point guard in basically 3 years. I guess you want to say Mike Conley's been on the team, but Mike Conley hasn't been Mike Conley of old in like 3 or 4 years now. And really, it's been Anthony Edwards having bring down the ball, orchestrate for his teammates, and obviously score like the best of them, because we know Anthony Edwards is, at the end of the day, a shooting guard. He is a score-first player. That's his mentality. And what the Timberwolves did this offseason was finally bring in Anthony Edwards, a reliable point guard, somebody that can hold down the fort, somebody that can orchestrate, so Anthony Edwards can finally go back to doing what he has been known to do since he was in high school, and score the ball, and bringing in LaMelo Ball. And I do think a lot of people are undermining this pickup, in my opinion, because right after the Spurs and the Thunder, I do have the Timberwolves, and I can understand why you aren't high on the Timberwolves. At the end of the day, they don't have a reliable starting power forward, and I don't think Jaden McDaniels could be the answer for that, because Jaden McDaniels is a natural small forward, even with his 6'10 frame. So what do you do in the Timberwolves, right? You rely on your heavily and highlighted backcourt in LaMelo and Anthony Edwards to take you to the promised land until you eventually do fill in that power forward position. I do think next season will be a big season for Anthony Edwards, and I do think this could possibly be an MVP type of year. And I know we always recycle the same years in the MVP category every single season. Luka, Jokic, Shea, sometimes Giannis when he's healthy. But why can't Anthony Edwards enter the realm of that conversation? Why can't he be in the same breath as them? It's like we treat Anthony Edwards as a tier 2 guy, even though his resume being 2 conference finals, him going down with the fort, losing the 6 games against the Spurs on one leg when he wasn't even supposed to be out there, and he's still getting every single double team. So how am I not supposed to believe a point guard bringing up the ball and a point guard with LaMelo's gravity won't make Anthony Edwards a better player? And that's why all of the people that are shitting on the Timberwolves and making that move to get LaMelo, I'm just wondering, have you ever watched LaMelo play? Did you watch the Timberwolves this season without a true point guard, and what Anthony Edwards had to do on a nightly basis to even see or smell an open look? Anthony Edwards is one of the best catch and shoot 3-point shooters in the NBA, if you didn't know that. And he barely gets attempts because they are so worried with stopping him. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about anybody else. And you've seen that during the Spurs series when they were setting doubles to him when he didn't even have his athleticism, and they were letting they were letting Julius Randle and Naz Reid go to work, and they would rather leave Stephon Castle on an island with, and when that push come to shove, Ant gets the ball, they immediately trap him. And that's what the philosophy was for the San Antonio Spurs. And getting LaMelo, you can't no longer do that anymore. And when you look at the bigger picture of this Timberwolves team, I do think this is designated for Anthony Edwards to shine, and Anthony Edwards' skill set will be on full display, because I do think we've known how Anthony Edwards gets better every single season. But without noticing it, we could take it for granted, because since his first All-Star appearance, 22-23, he averaged 24.5 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. The year after, in 23-24, he averaged 26 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and 5 assists, shooting 46% from the field, and 35% from the three. 24-25, he averaged 27.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and 4.5 assists, shooting 44.5% from the field and 39.5% from the three. And last season, when he's dealt with a lot of injury, and he still could have ended up a 30 point per game scorer. Last season, Ant averaged basically 29 points per game, 5 rebounds, and basically 3.5 assists, shooting 49% from the field and basically 40% from the three, that being 39.9. So the statistics, everything from across the board, his scoring, the only thing that didn't go up but went down was his assists, because he had to play point guard and all the gravity was towards him. He had to sometimes stand at the hash mark so his teammates could get open looks. I noticed that throughout the season when I was watching the Timberwolves this season. So it's hard to ignore how much gravity and how much impact Anthony Edwards had to produce on a nightly basis. And you would notice that his defense was consistently stacked year after year. And I do think that is a portion of Anthony Edwards' game that he can unlock again, because I haven't really seen the two-way side of Anthony Edwards in 2 years. I do think sometimes we overrate Anthony Edwards' defense because of the version of him we saw 2 years ago when he was actually playing the shooting guard position. But ever since he had to obviously play this point guard, shooting guard, this combo guard type of play style, his defense has slacked a lot, and it's really noticeable. So hopefully this season, where he doesn't have to have so many repping or ball dominant reps, he can get back to playing the defensive side of the ball, and that will ultimately make the Timberwolves team a better team, because I know we don't expect LaMelo to be a high-level defender. We expect him not to get beat and not be a liability with obviously all the pieces that he now has in Minnesota. But Anthony Edwards is going to have to pick up a lot of the pressure off of LaMelo, because I do think we would expect Anthony Edwards to be a great two-way player at this time, and like I keep saying, 2 years ago he had it. These last 2 seasons since he's been playing the point guard position, he's been lackluster on defense and he hasn't been showing effort. And I do expect that to change, but when you look at how he had to play last season with obviously the rim pressure, the mid-range shot, the three-point shot, which gets better every single season, it looks smoother every single season, and I do think playing with LaMelo will generate more catch-and-shoot looks, and I do think as a basketball fan, that's probably pretty obvious, because I do think we saw how LaMelo elevated Colin Knueppel. Yes, Colin Knueppel will be able to play without LaMelo, but he became a 47% three-point shooter rather than 39% with LaMelo on and off. So I do think this will be a big impact for Anthony Edwards, and I do think people are trying to diminish that because of what they lack, or I guess since it's Minnesota, because there's not a lot of, or there's not any really backcourt duos that I would take over them right now, and they haven't touched the floor yet, just because I feel like they will gel perfectly together based off of skill sets, how Anthony Edwards' mentality is, and how LaMelo Ball's mentality is. Even though some people try to act like they know the player that LaMelo Ball is without watching 82 games of the Charlotte Hornets last season, like I had to endure. But when you look at next season for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I do think this will be an interesting season. I'm not going to expect them to be a finals favorite, because I do think they do have to get a power forward. Maybe if they pick up Kuminga, that's when I'll change my mind. But Minnesota is not no easy team to slack. And if you have them not making the playoffs or being in the play-in tournament, I just look at you like, what? Do we not know who the fuck Anthony Edwards is when he's healthy? Like, I get it. He was hurt a lot last season. LaMelo, his injury history is not good. But when LaMelo is healthy, the Hornets were winning games. So I do think next season there will be a lot of backtrack of the Minnesota Timberwolves. From what people have been saying in the offseason, people will have to eat their words when the season starts. And I can't wait for that, because, yeah, it should be interesting. But the Minnesota Timberwolves roster right now, if you don't know, it consists of Ant, obviously, LaMelo, obviously, Ayo, Gobert, who's going to have spoon-fed looks by LaMelo. Jaden McDaniels, hopefully he can take an offensive lead. Josh Green, Dante, who's recovering from his injury. Juan Berninger, I know I said his name wrong, folks. Terrence Shannon Jr., Rocco Zararsky, Bones Highland, Isaiah Evans, Trey Lyles, Jalen Clark, Zion Pullen, Trey Kerr. The rest don't matter. But when you look at Minnesota, I want to know where do y'all think they fare in the Western Conference right now? And what do you think, or what does next season actually look like for the Ant-Man? What does it look like for Anthony Edwards? Y'all let me know down below. Subscribe. What's good, y'all? If y'all made it to the end of this video, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And my last video is on your screen, and the channel icon's on your screen too. So click one of them if you want to continue watching my videos. And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. It helps the algorithm push me out. And I appreciate y'all for watching this video nonetheless.